Hello everyone and welcome to SuttonsDaze. We're going to chat a little bit about meat today, what it's been doing, where it potentially is going, and how we can try to combat that today, okay? I have a report that I'm going to put a link down below for you, but I wanted to give some background to what made me start digging deeper on this. Earlier this week, I was running errands and I had the radio on, and I managed to catch part of the ag report. And they were discussing specifically the cost of chicken. And the powers that be, whoever they were stating that they were actually kind of surprised because even though the price of chicken is so elevated, sales are not really declining on it. Now, we have spent decades being very spoiled with very, very inexpensive chicken prices. Back in the day, chicken was the occasional splurge dinner, okay? Because you had to either find somebody that was getting rid of one or you had to go out in the backyard and whack one yourself. And so you didn't do that every single day. But then it became mass produced, mass farmed, and chicken became the inexpensive meat of choice, okay? It is the white meat of choice. Now, and we see the numbers on this now, chicken's pretty expensive. And I noticed looking at the sale papers that I get, I don't get sale papers, I see ads on Facebook for the two stores where I buy bulk, because that's normally where I would go. I haven't been there in a long time now, but I still watch their ads and their sales just in case something miraculous pops up, right? And what I noticed is that pork, the other white meat, are you old enough to remember that? Pork is now the inexpensive meat, depending on your cut. I mean, not bacon, but just basically pork, either pork butt or pork chops or pork loin, whatever the case may be. That is cheaper than chicken, especially in our area. Is it that way in your area? I'd love to know. Let me know down below. Now, the report that I have here that I'm going to give you the link for shows all kinds of things, but I'm focusing mainly on the meat aspect of it. We are carnivore in this house. That is not going to change, and it is not going to change to bugs. Definitely not going to change to bugs. I am not interested in eating insects. I like beef, I like pork, I like chicken, and I like fish. So that is what we're going to eat. And watching those prices and how crazy they are lately it's been kind of scary when you look at preparing, right? So back in December of 2021, we ran across what is now forever ingrained in my mind as the last big sale on chicken. And they had boneless, skinless chicken breast for 99 cents a pound. And yes, it was the Frankenboobs, but I didn't care. It was boneless, skinless chicken breast for 99 cents a pound. And we went and picked up 200 pounds. 80 of that was dispersed to neighbors that had asked me to pick some up for them, and 120 of it went into jars here in this household, because I knew that for this year I needed to can up 100 more pounds of chicken. So I beat it by 20 and put 120 pounds in there, knowing that that would cover me through 2023, because we go through about 100 pounds of chicken. If the fact of a pint is a pound the world around, comes anywhere near close. So that was our staple. That's our inexpensive meat, and we just happen to really like it, so life is good. I have never found in my area chicken thighs cheaper than boneless, skinless chicken breast, so not interested. And chicken legs, you used to be able to get for 19, 29, 39 cents a pound. Now they're 99 cents a pound. But that's that. So pork has still remained reasonably low. And beef is really amping up there, definitely also. What was $3.50 a pound for a good, grass-fed, awesome piece of beef is now for $4 a pound from our butcher. I mean, that is field to table, so that is the person that grew it, and then the butcher that processed it, and then it ends up at our table. There's no other middlemen in between there. And so $4 a pound is really good. But wow, 50 cents a pound, it went up just like that. And it's been that way pretty much all year. But I wanted to go over some of these prices with you, because another thing that caught my attention is when somebody mentioned, as some of you know, I'm a Thrive Life consultant. And so this is freeze-dried food. And I advocate very strongly for this, because this is what I'm doing to ensure that my family and I have what we need moving forward. and I'd rather get it today at today's prices than to get it at tomorrow's prices. So I buy a case every single month, and I stock up on different things. Now, I have primarily been focusing on vegetables and fruits because, simple truth, they're more affordable, okay? But I do know how handy the meat is to have on hand. I used to keep some in my desk at work. I used it when my mother was in her final days so that she could have something to eat. It's great when you're sick, when you don't feel like cooking. It's super, super simple to put something together. And again, it's nothing but that item. There's no carb-laden, sodium-laden, foods in there. But somebody noticed that they did not put a protein in their specials pack this month. And that was like the really big seller for me because, hey, you get the specials pack, then you're going to get 1 to 2 proteins also so that I can start building up my proteins. Well, at first it was, it's Canada. We were having trouble getting protein across the border for some reason. The trade agreement's a little wonky right now. So, they figured they would just do other stuff. If you hear noises, it's Phil. He's working on stuff outside. But then somebody asked it in the consultants group that I'm in, and they came back with this. They came back with the fact that they are not pushing the meat right now because they don't want to have to raise their prices. However, they do anticipate the prices having to go up because it's going to cost more to purchase the beef or the chicken or the pork, whatever the case may be, dog, in order to freeze dry it and put it in the cans, right? So if their price goes up, our price goes up. It's just the way that it goes. They didn't want to pass that on, so they're trying not to completely deplete what they've got, in their storage, and they're trying to figure out if this is something that they can do moving forward. Okay, so you've got it now, but you're not going to put it on sale because when you put it on sale, right, it's out the door. That's always the case. So what do? I'm going to go buy some meat because I want it on my shelves so that I don't have to worry about it. And I want it on my shelves today at today's prices. So I did. I pulled some money out of savings and I went and bought meat. I bought beef, I bought chicken, and I bought shrimp, and I put them up on my shelf because I want to make sure that Phil and I are covered. Now, I'm not suggesting everybody do that. That was a chunk, and I took money out of my savings for it. But I wanted to share with you this report here, and it is from, okay, the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, and it's the Mid-Atlantic Information Office. So it's the average retail food and energy prices, U.S. and Midwest region, which happens to be, right about where I'm at. And they really drill it down for you, and it was really great to take a look at, but also kind of terrifying at the same time. Some of the things that it shows us, it literally has the item in the unit, how much of it, and then it has prices and the percentage change. That is what got me, the percentage change, because prices are going to be subjective depending on where you're at. But again, this is for the U.S. and Midwest region. And jumping down to meats, because that's what I'm focusing on for this conversation, they had ground chuck, 100% beef per pound, okay? From June of 2021, it's gone up 9.5%. And since May of 2022, 2.1%. Imagine if it's going to keep going up 2.1%. Wow. Okay. Ground beef. Let's see. There's another ground beef. Oh, that was ground chuck. Ground beef, 100% for a pound. It went up 12% since June of 2021. And then the ground beef, they just said ground beef, lean and extra lean, went up almost 8% from June of 2021, but it went down recently to 0.8%. So we're looking at average 10% increase from June of 2021. So for a year, right? They've got round roast, only went up 1%. And what was the other one that caught my attention? All other beef, excluding veal, per pound, all uncooked other beef, went up 5.4% since June of 2021. Now, there was a time there was a time when stew meat was cheap meat. You got that because it cost like nothing, right? And then they figured out that people were using it, and they raised the price. And I'm not kidding. I've seen stew meat cost more than the actual roast. So I saw something on here with stew meat, and I don't remember where it's at now. But beef for stew, boneless, per pound, it's gone up 1.4% since June of 2021. Bacon has gone up 11%. 11% for bacon. That's about the only pork thing that's gone up that high. Center cut pork chops have gone up 2.7%. Boneless pork chops went down since June of 2021, 2.7%. And all pork chops as a general whole went down 0.5% since June of 2021. They didn't have any numbers on ham, rump, or shank, half bone in, smoke per pound, right? But for boneless ham, that went up over 9%. And all other pork, excluding canned ham and lunch slices, they're saying went up 8%. So while I'm saying that pork is cheaper than chicken, that's not necessarily sticking with it there. But then they get to poultry. This is where it says, okay, this is where it says, yep, it's cheaper to have pork right now than it is to have chicken. So enjoy the other white meat, folks, because it is the cheapest to put up there. So fresh whole chickens went up 23.9% since June of 21. Boneless chicken breast went up 36.2% in a year. 36.2% in a year. And then chicken legs, bone in, went up 16.8% in a year. Eggs, this is the killer here, eggs went up 64.9% in a year. 64.9% a year. So a lot of the poultry stuff, we're going to trace back and say it's due to the avian flu and the fires in the processing plants. And, those are probably two of the primary reasons that there's a shortage on chicken right now. But they're saying that that's not looking to change anytime soon. They're not expecting these prices to go down. What happens when the cheapest protein that you can buy is now almost equal to your beef? When I could buy a roast, cheap roast, for the same price that I can buy chicken, I'm probably going to go with the roast. I'm not kidding, because, it's a roast. And that's not all that, they go through a bunch of other stuff, but the meat obviously is some of the highest until you get to the fuel. Yeah. Oh, and coffee. Why they got to mess with my coffee? So they had sugar. Sugar went up 13% in a year. Ground coffee went up 25.8% in a year. Potato chips, of all the wacky things, potato chips went up almost 15% a year, right? But then they started going through fuel, and automotive diesel went up 76%. The different gasolines were averaging over 50%. Electricity went up 12%. And piped gas, if you have natural gas, that went up 40%. Now, that caught my attention too, because today I called my propane company and said, I need to know what the new, cheap rate is for buying it ahead of time. And last year it was $1.79 for my propane, $1.79 a pound for my propane. This year it's $2.39 a pound for my propane. That's a 60-cent increase in a year's time. 60 cents a pound in a year's time. Luckily, we heat primarily with wood, but we don't eat it, so any of the money that I save going towards heat is going towards meat, because we are carnivores. You can do meatless Wednesdays, meatless Mondays, you can do, all of those different kinds of things, but we're only halfway through the year. This is what we need to keep an eye on to see exactly how this is tracking and how it's impacting us. This is not going away. And I don't do this to fearmonger. I do this because it's a fact. It's not going away. So if you can invest in your meats now and preserve them in some way, shape, or form, then you are ahead of the game, because freeze-dried meat is not cheap, okay? You're not getting a bargain on this, but you're getting a bargain on the process. You don't have to buy a $3,000 or $5,000 freeze dryer. You don't have to buy all the stuff that goes with it to seal it up and put it away on top of the meat. Not, I delegated that expense to somebody else. I just want the product, and I want it sealed safely so that nothing can get into it, and that in 5-10 years it's still good. At the rate that we're going, it might be cheaper in 5 or 10 years to eat that than to eat the stuff fresh from the store. So if you're interested, I would say get it now. If you can, get it now. Do what you can to get some protein and get it put up. There are a million different ways that you can use beef, pork, chicken that's been canned. I mean, it's so versatile. So you can, casserole yourself silly, soup, stews, tacos. There's all kinds of varieties for that. Get it in a jar, get it on the shelf, and save some money, because it's not going to get any better. And I hate saying that. I really do. Get yourself some chickens. Honestly, I do not believe it is cheaper to raise your own. It isn't cheaper to raise your own. If you can still go to a Costco or Sam's Club and get a $5 or $6 rotisserie chicken, do it. Okay? Do it. Stick it in jars. That's all I'm going to say. Stick it in jars. Stack it to the rafters, my friends. These are the prices that we're looking at today. This is why it's important for you to stock up on your proteins today, so that you are not getting hit with the elevated prices of tomorrow, and so that you don't have to eat bugs. Okay. Until next time, everybody, be safe.